Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about one of my pet peeves, photo snobs. So I'm Daniel Norton, I'm a photographer here in New York. I make videos like this about philosophy, about technique, about gear, and specifically gear here. I'm not talking about the snob that only wants to use the best gear. That's a whole other thing. I sometimes fall into that category, so that can't really be my pet peeve, but I'm talking about the people that feel like they're so superior to every other photographer, the up-and-coming photographers, that they look down their nose at them. And this is I've actually attempted to make this video a couple times, but I wasn't coming off super negative, so I'm going to try not to be negative, and we'll try it again. There's a few incidents that specifically that I'm going to talk about, but this kind of thing happens a lot. So, you know, I'm going to use these as reference points, but right away I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you who the photographers are that I'm talking about. If you know who they are and you try to post it in the comments, I'm going to delete it. I don't want to call people out specifically. This is more of a general idea, and it just happens to be I'm going to use these as examples. So the first example is the photographer that's very established, that knows what they're doing, that's very high tech, or that knows a lot of stuff. Maybe they have a lot of influence. In this case, I'm talking about an influencer that belittles new photographers that don't know what they're doing. So specifically this case, and again, I'm not going to get that much into it, but a very well-known photographer, not somebody who I'm necessarily friends with, but that it's in circle, so, you know, I'm in their circle, so I saw this. They were at some party, or maybe a wedding it was, and they saw some photographer shooting in a way that didn't look like it was the right way to do it. They were using a light a certain way. And instead of like inquiring with the photographer, maybe reaching out to help them somehow in a subtle way, they thought it was much a better idea to take a snapshot of it with their cell phone and put it on their social media so that everybody could mock this person. And that really got under my skin. I mean, I wrote up at least 6 or 7 comments that I was going to post, and I just didn't do it because, you know, I try not to get combative with people. I just don't think it's worth it. Maybe I should have. But the thing is this, right? If you see somebody, right, and they are clearly doing something that you think is not right, and you're in a position, especially if you're a well-known photographer, that you could help them, why wouldn't you? Let's say that you weren't in a position that you could do that without maybe embarrassing them, or they were too far away or whatever. Why are you taking a picture of it and putting it online to mock people? The idea of making yourself seem better by making fun of other people is such a, sorry mom, a shitty thing to do. Don't do it. Help people if you can. And also, by the way, there's been plenty of times where I've done stuff and a photographer, a friend of mine's looked at it and been like, what are you doing? Like it just looked crazy, like it wasn't gonna work. And then when they saw the photo, they were like, oh, because you don't always know what's going on. You see something, you have your background, you know how you like to light, you see somebody doing something, that doesn't mean somebody else is doing it wrong or they're not gonna have a successful image. So, number one, I would say you see somebody that clearly is an amateur that's starting out, you know, they're doing something that doesn't seem right. You know, if you can, engage them in conversation. Ask them to see the pictures. I'm a photographer, this and that. And if you see from the images, you know, wow, they could improve this image by doing this little thing, maybe you just suggest it. Be like, oh, you know, I'm a photographer too. What if you bounce the light off the wall? Or what if you do this? What if you change the color temperature? Whatever the thing is, right? Help people, right? That's how we build community. You never know that person that you helped at that moment could be a long-term friend. It could be somebody that becomes a really great photographer, and maybe your influence on them helped that. And that's just a great feeling. The other thing is a little bit more subtle, I'd say. By the way, I want to say thank you to all the people that are sending me DMs asking if I'm okay because I'm not putting videos out every day. You know, as I kind of mentioned in the video about social media, I am not going to put a video every day on YouTube. It wasn't really working out for me to do that. So I've been putting them on Instagram. I'm putting up new images, and I'm putting up a little description of how I did that. So if you guys want to see that, follow me there, Daniel Norton, and you'll see those in the stories every day. Anyways, back to this. Kind of the other end of this is, I'm going to say it's a very specific story, but this happens a lot. Somebody wrote me and they sent me an image, which happens a lot. And if you're one of those people that ever did that, I'm sorry, I'm not making fun of you, I'm just saying. And they were like, oh, I'm talking to my friend and I'm trying to tell them this image sucks, but they think it's good. You know, can you say it sucks so that I can basically show them that, you know, it is? No. I don't look at people's work and put them down. The only time I'm ever going to critique somebody's work, generally, is if I'm asked to do it, or if I'm in a very specific case where I'm trying to help somebody and I just need to guide them. I'm not just going to randomly look at people's pictures and cut them down. Why would I do that? And you shouldn't either. And what the person basically said back to me, which was interesting, which catalyzed this, is that they were like, well, how do I know what's good if you don't tell me? Well, that's a good question, right? And I think that If you are trying to figure out what is good, the last thing you should be doing is relying just on some photographer that you like's opinion. Because my opinion is just that, it's an opinion. You know, there are many things that a lot of people like that I do not like. And there's many things that I do like that people don't like. It's just the way life is, right? But what I would do is a basic generalization here to kind of answer your question is that if you're looking at an image and you're trying to figure out if it is good, what I would do is look at the technique that's going on. In this case, it was a very specific technique, and decide, does that technique actually make this image more successful as an image, or is it just about the technique? And if it's just about the technique, then it's probably not as successful. Unless the point of the image was just to test out the technique, because that could be it too. You know, hey, I finally figured out how to do multi-pops, so I put some images up and showing them off. Why not? You can do that. There's no reason you shouldn't do that. People shouldn't belittle you because you figured something out and you're showing it. Hopefully you'll use that multi-pop to create a cooler image that like has a reason in the future, but just because you're showing that image now doesn't mean that it's bad. You know, if you successfully mastered that technique, then that's good. Be proud of it. You know, why not? If it becomes too gimmicky, I mean, there's a lot of images I often say, like, would the image be good if it wasn't for the subject matter? But sometimes the images are about the subject matter. So, you know, nothing I say or my opinion is ever 100% on every single thing, right? There's certain things I don't like, and maybe people, you know, look at those and go, well, Daniel says, you know, that a lot of retouching is bad. Well, that's not true either. What I say is when you shoot an image with no real goal in mind, and then look at it later and you're just like, and then you retouch or do something to it to try to make it good, I think that's the wrong direction to take. And again, that's just my opinion. What's actually interesting is if you look, there's actually Mark Wallace just did a video on Adorama TV. I'll see if I can put a link to that. I think that's over here. And he had a bunch of us retouch his image. And you can see my philosophy there, because I basically chose, out of all the images we had, I chose one that I liked the best. And then I just enhanced the things that I liked about it. I did not find an image and be like, oh, I really like this one, except for I don't like this, and fixed it. Because that's just not how I edit. You know, I try to shoot it as clean as possible. And, you know, the way I look at it is when I'm looking at my images and I'm editing, if anybody's ever watched me edit, like on Twitch, I look for images that pop out that make me go, yeah, I love this image. If I look through an entire photo shoot and no image does that, and then I have to go into Photoshop and make an image so that it does that, then I feel like I failed personally. That is much different than I have an idea that requires digital editing because it's something that's beyond what could possibly happen. Maybe I'm using, you know, multiplying things or putting myself in it multiple times, or Mark just did that too. Or I'm doing, you know, some kind of special effect that just, you couldn't, you know, it's just not possible for me to do it in camera, either because of budget or time or what things I have. In that case, I know I'm shooting it for that reason, you know, and because of that, a good example of this would be, Gavin did a video a while back where he made it look like it was like a giant circus tent, and he's in a very small space. So he basically shot it so that he shot basically one half of it, and then he basically photoshopped in the second half of the tent by watch the video, you'll see. But you know, that's exactly what post-processing is for, in my opinion. You know, being able to enhance what you've shot, not make the shot. The idea of like, you know, having, let's say, a splash, right? Instead of like creating a splash in Photoshop, you get the best splash you possibly can. If it requires you putting two images together, but still you want to get the best splash you can. And that's kind of how I look at it. And that's, you know, that's how I determine things. How successful is an image, is how impactful is it to me emotionally? And then if I'm talking about technical wise, how successful was the technique performed, and did that technique benefit the final shot, or was it just done to be done? If you look at all those items, you sort them out in your head, then you can determine whether or not you think an image is successful, and you'll have a good reason for it when you're talking to your friend, and not just, Daniel said it's not good. So there's that. I guess going back to the original idea here, guys, is don't be a snob. Don't look at new people like, oh, I'm better than them because I know something they don't know, an f-stop. But okay, so they don't know what an f-stop is. So what? Explain it to them. I didn't know what an f-stop was a long time ago. I didn't know what certain things are. I still don't know what certain things are, you know? And I think we're all like that, right? Just because you have a little bit of knowledge doesn't make you better than other people. Take that knowledge, spread it, help other people grow. That's really what we should be doing here, not being snobs, keeping it to ourselves, putting down people that can't do stuff the way that we do it. That's just the wrong attitude to have. So anyways, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell so you get all notifications. And I will be posting, so just to follow up on that, I'll be posting probably twice a week or so on here. These longer ones, maybe more focused. Like I said, on my Instagram, I'm putting up a little quick, like, hey, this is how I did the image. And I'm gonna start going back on Twitch again, doing some actual computer stuff soon. So keep an eye out on all those channels, and I'll see you soon.